Hi everyone, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. Not the first time I've attempted to make this video. Things got a little out of hand. Let's just hope we can keep it in check. So I want to start by just giving a couple of apologies. First of all, this is not a planned video, so if it's a bit disjointed, I do apologise. Don't worry, the Dr. Az video will be coming out today, just I can't put a time on when, but it will be some point today. Secondly, I want to apologise to this guy here, Shaun Murphy, if he ever sees this video, because I'm pretty sure that Shaun really wouldn't want eyes or a like shone on this, and he wouldn't want any sort of like drama to be created around this. And the reason why I apologise, Shaun, is I can't stay quiet about this. I am a customer. I've been collecting comics for 28 years, nearly 30 years, and I just can't keep quiet. I'm already so disillusioned by the industry right now. I find the ability to do so gone. So with that said, I know I'm being very cryptic. Let me fill in some holes for you. Shaun Murphy is probably, well, I personally believe, one of the most talented people in the industry right now. He's an excellent artist and an excellent writer. And he has created in recent times my favourite Batman story, which is out of continuity, but it's a mini-series called Batman White Knight. And I don't think I've read anything so good since Batman Hush, which I believe is exceptional praise. He's, right here, actually. I've got a pile of comics right here. He's also currently releasing the sequel to Batman White Knight, which is Curse of the White Knight. What I do, though, is I wait till all the parts are in, then I read it. And so I've been very impressed with his work, and because of it, I've started to follow his pieces, and will continue to do so, hopefully. So Shaun also comes across as a very decent, genuine, down-to-earth person. He's no longer on Twitter, although this is a tweet by him. He's now passed it, I believe, to his assistant, who locks him out. He has to ask for the code to get into his Twitter. And he stepped away because of, well, let's just be honest, Twitter is poison, as we'll get to. Utter poison, where as much as you want to have rational conversations with people, unfortunately, it appears that the vast majority of people on Twitter now are no longer rational. And I can understand that. If I didn't have my YouTube channel, I wouldn't be on Twitter. I'd be gone the next day. It's a cesspit. And I have it because I want to communicate with my audience, and I want them to have the ability to communicate with me. And sometimes that's great communication, and sometimes, and I'm just as guilty as the next person, sometimes it devolves. Hence the pit that is Twitter. And anyway, he comes across as a really decent guy who isn't concerned about what side of the political spectrum you fall upon. He just wants to treat you as a person based off how you are. This is what I can garner. He's got friends on the far left. He's got friends on the right. It's how life used to be. Until recently, when we now just have echo chambers. It's crazy. And so he steps away, but he creates this tweet a couple of days ago. And he's now starting off his Murphyverse. This is his universe. And he's just setting out some rules for it. So number one, dead characters stay dead. Fair rule. In the comics, in any form of media, to be honest with you, fictional media, it's so easy to bring characters back from the dead. So to actually have stakes that if they do die, they stay dead, fine. I fully embrace that. No inner monologues, not a fan of using them. That's an artistic choice. I personally think an inner monologue can be very powerful in the right situation. But again, it's an artistic choice, and I respect that. 3, stuff comes out on time. Very important indeed for somebody like me, because I'm so disillusioned by the comic industry. mainstream comic industry. I have been looking to Indiegogo and places like that to purchase comics from. And I've had some very positive interactions with it. Doug Tenaple being an example with Earthworm Jim. Brilliantly, beautifully put together piece. Out on time. Fantastic. I'll go back and I'll purchase from Doug again. And some others. I'm just singling out an individual. But I've also had some terrible interactions. There are comics which are a year plus overdue. There's comics which are cancelled and I'm waiting refunds back for them. Stuff like that. It's been a mixed bag. And communication with some has been exceptionally poor. The excuses are very weak, etc. Whatever. So I think it's very important that you do adhere to timescales. And 4, only the best talent who puts customers/readers first. Now, the way that I personally read this is he doesn't mind where you fall. All he wants is you to be, number 1, talented, which is exceptionally important. And number 2, to respect your customers. I think that's fair enough. I think that's seriously fair enough. So, I'm going to bed last night and I'm putting on some videos because I am not afraid to listen also to both sides of the coin. And I'll listen to videos from people on one side of the political spectrum and people from the other side of the political spectrum. And one of those people I listen to is Comics Matter, Richard C. Mayer. Now, Richard C. Mayer is not very well respected in mainstream comics because back in 2017, he created his channel. I think it used to be called Diversity in Comics. And he used to roast the shit out of comic books because a lot of them were just shite. And he would do some savage roasts. And to be honest with you, they're very funny. A lot of them were very funny indeed. I did find him very amusing. He said some inflammatory stuff, which, look, I'm going to be a hypocrite if I try and play the moral coin here because we're all human and we've all said dumb shit. But having listened to Richard for a while now, he does come across as a genuine person. And I don't think he's like hiding any sides of his personality particularly. He tried some stuff and he's kind of open to when he believes he's made mistakes and things like that. And so I do find him entertaining to listen to. So he puts this video out and we see part 4 of Shawn Gordon Murphy's rules. Only the best talent who put customers/readers first. Now, this guy here, David, I believe was part of Image Comics. Quite high up. Apparently a big SJW. And he tweets out... No longer there, by the way. And he tweets out this.
Videos? Like I had plenty...
Sorry, Richard. Is this a Comicsgate dog whistle or nah? You know what I was saying about Twitter? Again... The way that I read this is Shawn Gordon Murphy is saying, I want talented people to work for me. I'm not going to hold it against you which side you fall on, but you've got to be talented, meritocracy, and you've got to respect your readers. Why? Because people right now, your Gail Simones, etc., etc., they spend all day on Twitter shrieking and berating and insulting their customers. Then they wonder why nobody buys their comics. But it's all okay because the echo chamber that they're in is too scared to get rid of them. And so they just keep getting more and more work, failing upwards constantly. Because the mainstream comic book industry wants diversity of colour. It wants diversity of sexuality. It wants diversity of gender. But it doesn't want diversity of thought. No. You must fall on the right political side, otherwise you're out. And this is where the comics book industry is. And this is where the BBC is. This is why we have the utter trash that's Doctor Who now. And this is where so many other fandoms have gone. They cut out diversity of thought. And so we have the echo chamber. So the reason why I found this video particularly amusing is Richard, in recent times, he's gone through a lot. People have tried to cancel him left, right and centre. The industry has. Just imagine the industry being so fragile that one guy making videos at home got the industry to try and destroy his life. Yes, talking about people like Mark Waid. He's currently in a lawsuit with Mark Waid about tortious interference because Richard is trying to put out his own comics. Well, he is putting them out, but people have tried to stop him. And because he's very kind of calm nowadays, about 3/4 of the way through this video, he loses it. He loses it, which is very, very rare. And it was hilarious. And it was kind of cathartic for me because I read this and I was just thinking, God, this guy's nuts. This guy's just nuts. He thinks that getting talented people to work for you that treat customers with respect, he thinks that is the problem. That's where mainstream comic books are nowadays, folks. That's where the mainstream industry is right now. Because it's not just David. Like I said, it's all of them now on Twitter. Berating. Incels this. Didn't go watch Birds of Prey. Incels that. Fake this. They are having meltdowns. Why would we buy your comics when you speak and treat us like this? And because there's no diversity of thought anymore, you cut off such a huge portion of your audience as well. Now, I was prepared to leave it at that. But I wake up today, I go to the gym, I come back, and guess who's back? I see this tweet by Bleeding Fool, and they're saying the takeaway is that you're an imbecile who is propagating the worst hot take on comics Twitter this week. And look who's back. Look who's back. It's our friend again. It's our friend. This guy is not letting it go because you double down and you triple down and you quadruple down. So what did he say afterwards? He said afterwards, and he's trying to be cryptic. When I say he's trying to be cryptic, he's just being a passive-aggressive prick. So a guy who is at best Comicsgate adjacent. What? How did you draw that conclusion? You drew that conclusion from, I'm not going to be prejudiced against you as a creator, but you have to have talent and treat customers with respect. You know how things used to be before crazy social media drove people mad. And immediately began marketing it by using code words to embolden his base of bigots. Bigots who've harassed DC employees and creators because they're victims, remember. Crazy people like this screeching on Twitter all day about how people are bigots, how their customers are bigots. Ostracizing them, cutting them off, being provocative. They're the victims. We've been harassed. They're the victims, folks. What's the takeaway here? The takeaway, David, is you're mad. You are mad because you spend all day on Twitter in your echo chamber with your hot takes and you need to get a life. Seriously. And I mean that legitimately. Shut it down, delete it, get off, sniff a fucking flower. So this is why the comics book industry is driving people away, because they call customers bigots. Because Shaun Gordon Murphy wants talented people who put their readers first, treat them with respect. But he calls them customers and readers, and that must have been code because you call them bigots, David. This is the madness that we live in, folks. This is the madness. This is the BBC. This is the comics book industry. This is Star Trek. This is Star Wars. This is Doctor Who. Then, folks, it's not over. So he replies to his own tweet of, is this a Comicsgate dog whistle or nah? By saying, as many of y'all pointed out, this is less a dog whistle and more a whistle. Imagine embracing bigotry with arms wide to make a buck. How tediously American is that? Imagine being so crazy that you call your customers bigots and then wonder why they don't buy your product. And why do you call them that? Based off what? Based off nothing. Based off the fact that they might not agree with your crazy far-left political ideology. So immediately they are the ists, the isms, etc. That, David, is called ignorance. You are an ignorant, crazy fool who needs to get off Twitter. But, of course, that's not all. We're going at it again, folks. Let's go at it again. This is an actual question, by the way. I'm not really a fan, so I'm out the loop. You are absolutely out of the loop. 100%. I'll agree with you on that. Perfectly put. You are out of the loop because you're stuck in an echo chamber. But he must bring in mad money. Probably. Do you know why he does bring in mad money? Because this is fucking quality. The writing is quality. The art is quality. And when Shaun is on Twitter, he carries himself with dignity and treats people with respect. Something you probably know nothing about whatsoever. That's the only thing I can figure. Otherwise, why? Considering the climate and the culture, why? Why isn't he in our echo chamber, sniffing our farts and validating everything we say? Probably because he's a normal, down-to-earth human being. That's what he's exhibited. That won't hold it against somebody because they voted Democrat or Republican. Because he'll treat people based off probably how they treat him. What a crazy concept that is. Why aren't you in the club? Why aren't you in the club calling customers bigots and not selling comics and then getting mad with them because they're not buying your comics because you're calling them bigots? This is why I am seriously thinking about just being done with this industry. Because it's full of fucking assholes like this. Full of idiots like this. And unfortunately, there are far too few Shaun Gordon Murphys left. And it's people like David and Gail Simone and all the other Mark Waid and all that crew that are pulling people away from comics. Because they're treating them like shit. They're talking to people like shit. And they are trying to counsel people like Shaun Gordon Murphy, who wants talented people and won't discriminate against them as long as you treat your customers with respect. World Gone Mad. So there we go, folks. Apologies. I know, disjointed, probably all over the place. If it's nonsensical, mea culpa. But I hope maybe that some of you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do give it a thumbs up. Also, subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming. Links in the description box down below. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care. Bye for now.